Hello everyone, the Kentucky Patriot. We're going to do another quick video, or I'll say quick. I'll try to make it quick, but I get to talking and it goes longer than I mean for it to. But Stephen, just been a great friend of the channel, just been a huge help to us. Just he comments and watches our videos, and we appreciate him from the bottom of our heart. But he asked a question, asked me if I'd respond and show what I'd done. And I think it was one of the second video we'd ever made a couple years ago about whether we carry one in the chamber or whether we don't, and it was where you can rack the slide off of your pants leg or whatever, or off the your leg. You can actually do a belt or shoe or whatever, but the technique was just off if you're in the sitting position or if you're in the kneeling position, just to be able to rack the slide and then be able to chamber around. What I want to say is, first of all, that is not a technique that is to be planned on being used as something this is what we do in a concealed carry situation. But that tactic, it would only be reserved if the context I was using it in was in the event of you carry one in the chamber or not carry one in the chamber. The argument that the gentleman had made was, if you carry one out of the chamber and you get attacked or you get shot or you get hurt or whatever, and you only have one hand, you wouldn't be able to chamber the round. And I was just simply showing you where you could still chamber round. Like I said, it's not something that a technique is going to be used a whole lot, but this is honestly the way I feel about it. The Navy SEALs, they say that their training never ends. So if you take that for what that is, they are highly trained. Everybody knows the Navy SEALs, everybody knows how highly trained they are. Well, to me, if they feel like their training never ends and they can always improve and they can always hone in skills and they can always learn, if they feel like they can improve and sharpen their skills, then I certainly would think that would leave room for us to do as well. And a lot of times people think, well, you're crazy for, but to me, it's not crazy to train and learn. To me, it's very important, and to me, it's crazy not to train or not to be able to defend yourself. So, like I said, I'm not saying that you have to learn these techniques or whatever, but this is honestly the way I feel about it. It's kind of like you're sending your children to school. That's why they have different subjects. Because if your child's great in math, but he has 6 classes of math a day and he can't read, reading's important too. Or if he has 6 classes of reading and he's a great reader and he can spell and knows how to use all the punctuations, but he can't add and subtract. So what I'm saying is, firearms training, if we're not careful, people will get into a rut of saying, well, I go to the range and train, and you begin to look at how they're training. Well, they go to the range 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and all they do is shoot paper targets. And that's part of it. Accuracy is important. Knowing your firearms is important. Knowing how it works and how to manipulate it is important. But to me, there's more to it than just shooting paper targets. I mean, if the paper target's going to attack you, you'll be well trained. But if you've never trained on drawing or being able to get to your firearm or thinking of situations that could happen, to me, firearm training is not just going to the range and putting holes in paper targets. It's more of a well-rounded, diverse, being able to do different, because we never know what situation may arise. But this technique, like I'm saying, is, and this could possibly happen. People say, well, that ain't going to happen, or there's chances that happen. But to me, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. And hopefully you never have to use any of these. But when called upon, we've got to understand we don't get a plan B. We don't get a do-over. We don't get a timeout. We don't get a chance to fix things. This happens, boom, and we have to be able to respond to the hand that's dealt to us. Okay, we don't know if it's going to be multiple attackers. We don't know rain or shine, like we said in many videos. But let's say you do carry one in the chamber, and for whatever reason you do get a shot off, or there's multiple attackers and you miss, or whatever the case may be, and let's say you're injured, whether you get shot or stabbed or hurt, and you only have one arm. Well, it's good to practice and be able to get to your firearm no matter where the holster is, to be able to still be able to get to it with both hands. Okay, so I'll show you this real quick. I want to show you this. Make sure you don't know if you can see that in the camera, but the slide is locked back. It's empty. Magazine's empty. But what I want to do is just show you. And then this is the gun that I actually used in that video to rack the slide, and that has a lot to do with it. I believe it's Sun Tzu, The Art of War, where he said, if you know your enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. But if you know yourself and not your enemy, for every battle you win, there will be a battle that you'll lose. So a 50-50 chance is not a very good when your life's dependent on the line. It's just, if you know not yourself nor your enemy, you will succumb in every battle. So you need to know how your weapons work and be realistic. I don't mean this the way it sounds, but there's a guy that owns a gun store, a very nice young man, and he was telling me, he was laughing, we just kind of got a joke out of it, talking about, and we're not making fun of kids, but when I call them kids, I'm talking about young kids, 20 years old, college age, 25. But he said they'll come in to buy a gun, and he said they'll quote things that's on a video game or movie they've seen, or there's a video game they play on Xbox, whatever they're called now, or a PlayStation, and it's a war game, and he says the kids will come in there and they think that's real. But just because you see it on TV or just because it's on a video game does not mean it's real. Just because you see it happen here don't mean you can do that. It's why you got to know yourself, know what you're capable of. And let's say you do get into an engagement, like I said, and you get a shot off and the gun jams or whatever. Well, if you've only got one hand and you're hurt, you're still going to have to be able to do something. Okay, and you're not going to be able to tap and rack like they always show you, in the training classes or whatever. So if you've only got one hand, how are you going to tap and rack? So very simple, you can use your knee to tap and then rack. And really, Stephen, to be honest with you, he said he tried it and he had some issues with being able to do it off of his leg. To be honest with you, Stephen, there's no really magic secret. There's no really secret technique. There's nothing I can really tell you that's a gem that I can give you to glean off of. It's just really simple, and a lot of it I would say is your gun. Because if you've ever been around like a custom Les Bear, if you go to NRA conventions and you grab a Les Bear and try to rack the slide, my wife could not rack the slide. They are that tight. The tolerances are so tight. It takes a grown man a lot of force to be able to rack that slide. And the reason is they are precision made. The tolerances are so tight. That's what they call the gun, the break-in period. And then after the gun loosens up, then you won't have any issues. So a lot of it is not just the technique, it's the gun that you use. So different guns would be more accessible to using this technique. This was the gun. Of course, I do still carry this quite a bit. I carry other guns too, but I really like this gun. This is the Smith & Wesson M&P Compact in 40 caliber. It's a 10 and 1 capacity. But you see these sights here in your sights and the size of your gun, all that plays a part. But it's been broke in. I've had it for years. It's been shot. It's been taken apart and cleaned multiple times. And the slide's really not difficult at all. You'd have no problems, your wife, anybody else, in racking this. So when you take basically this part, it's not just hitting the back rear sight. It's kind of a downward angle where you just kind of hit it. You don't want to mess up your sights too bad, but it's kind of if I can show you, it's more of a downward angle. You're not just hitting the back sights, but it's the force with the quickness and the speed, and that's what's really dangerous. You can do it right like this. That's how you do it, just like this. But if you don't do it hard enough, what you got to be careful is if this slide doesn't go all the way back, as you well know, you're going to have another malfunction. So even though you tapped and you're trying to rack another slide in there, if you don't do it hard enough to get the slide all the way back, then you'll get a malfunction. So it's just, a quick, hard, and Stephen made a very good point. When he was trying it, he was having some trouble. He said he had a small gun, and I'm not sure, he said it was cleaned and well lubed, which is very important. And maybe lubrication and cleaning a gun is going to be maybe another video for another time, but that is very important. Now you have to oil your gun, regardless of a lot of myths. When it's metal on metal, you want a good smooth, but you don't want so much oil where you get it caked and gunked up. We understand that, but Stephen said that he was using snap caps, and that's a good way. If you want to try this technique, something that you think about, load it with a snap cap or two. Please, if you try this at home, I'm not recommending this technique. I'm telling you, you should do this. But if you feel comfortable and you want to try this technique and you want to train, do this in the presence of an instructor or a defensive course. Whether it's a controlled environment, or make sure the gun's cleared and you're safe, and you use snap caps where those rounds will chamber, and that way you can see, am I doing it hard enough? Am I not doing it hard enough? But like I said, it don't have to just be your pants leg. It can be the back of your shoe. You can rack it. All you have to do is just make sure this racks back far enough where it'll chamber the round. But again, it's not a special technique. Just you want to hit it at an angle where it's kind of downward, and then just kind of canter tilt, maybe just a little bit that way. Then when you hit it down, the force of you going down with a solid object will kind of grab enough a lot of times to go ahead and chamber that round. So really, it's no secret. But I do think the more we train, the more we know our gun, the more we know ourselves, the more we know our training and our ability. And really that is so important, because really there's a lot of guys that are not trying to be mean, but have an ego. They think, boy, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and never really trained, or they think they can do this. But you got to know yourself and know your enemy, and that's the thing. In a concealed carry, you don't necessarily know exactly all the time who the enemy is going to be, how many there's going to be, what time, day or night. So the more knowledge you have, the more tools you have, the more skills you have, the more training you have, is only going to benefit you. And like I said, I hope we never need this. But in the event that you would get shot or you would get hurt, and your gun would jam or would malfunction, or whatever the case may be, to be able to still to tap and rack, whether it's either hand, and that's something else to shoot offhand. When you go to the range, train offhand, train strong hand, train to be able to draw, to be able to get to your weapon, with the offhand, or whatever the case may be. Because like I said, we've said in other videos, we're not paranoid. We don't walk around. But really, to think that this can't happen or it won't happen, as we've already said in other videos, we realize that it can, that bad people do exist and they're out to harm people. And just because you get shot or you get stabbed or you get hurt doesn't mean they're going to quit or stop. If you can't get your gun back into battery, get it back into the fight, it could be life and death. And just the more you know, the more you familiarize yourself with your weapon, your firearm, your abilities, what you're capable of, I think will just will be able to help you, even in confidence, knowing that I can do this. I'm capable of I know my gun. I know what I'm capable of. I really think, like we said, know yourself and know your enemy and know what you're capable of, and can you be have the right mindset and the skill level. If these skills are called upon, you got to understand it's probably a matter of life and death. It's probably a matter of you being seriously hurt, or somebody you love. So just take it into consideration. And I would recommend, maybe if you're only going to the range a couple times a week, whoever watches these videos, and you're only using paper targets, like I said, that's just one dimension. Now, that's great that you got accuracy. We understand shot placement is important, but if you can put every round in the same hole, but you can't access your firearm, it's absolutely useless. It's kind of like the guy's got his concealed carry permit, but he left his gun at home. It's absolutely useless. So it's all part of one big puzzle. So just because you can draw, or just because you can shoot, if you need to be able to do those things all collectively. Also being able to clear malfunctions, know how your gun works, being able to use these skills when called upon. And like I said, Stephen, there's no really magic trick. There's no secret really to being able to rack the slide off your pants. But I think one thing that will help you, I think adrenaline will be pumping, and you'll probably you'll have enough force to use it. But that a lot of, like I said, it would depend on your gun. So if you had a Les Baer custom 1911, which I'd never recommend carrying a gun that you didn't never shoot or take out before it was broke in, there'd probably be no way you'd ever be able to rack that on your pant leg. But after it's broke in, just know your gun. And some guns, maybe after they're broke in, you still wouldn't be able to do that. And that may be something to take into consideration. But the odds of having to use that technique, I would say, is very, very slim. But you take every citizen in the United States, for the next 20 years, there may be an instance where somebody has to call upon those skills. And I would rather have kind of a sound mind and know how to do that and never need it, as to have no clue if my gun jams, just be at the mercy of somebody that's already stabbed me or already shot me. Just something to take into consideration. And like I said, appreciate Stephen And this is again the M&P. There's other ones, plenty others are made like this. You can rack. It's got the fixed sight, very sturdy, very well made gun, and lightweight for the capacity that it holds. And we really like it. But I hope this helps. And again, Steve, thanks for your all the help you've given this channel. Thanks for the questions. And anybody else, if you have any questions, a video you'd like for us to do, a range video, something you'd like for us to shoot, I've got a couple videos in mind this summer. Hopefully I'd like to get back to the range and shoot some videos at the range. But I wish I could have done a little better job on this video. I wish I had some more gems to maybe knowledge to give out, but really that's really all there is to it. Just know yourself and know what you're capable of, and to be honest with yourself and critique yourself honestly, thinking, you know what, I can improve here. I can improve here. I need to work on this. And the more we hone in our skills and train in a multiple facet, not just in one thing every time, I think it just helps us as a person, as a character, being able to grow, being able to defend ourselves. Because if the Navy SEALs feel like they can sharpen their skills, then surely I can sharpen mine and you can sharpen yours. So we'll all work together, put our thoughts together. Again, if you have any comments, leave your comments below. Please, as always, keep them family friendly. God bless you. Anything else you'd like to see, make a video, feel free to ask, and we'll try our best to make and do whatever we can for you. May God bless you. The Kentucky Patriot, signing off.